Then what is the need for three-dimensional imaging in dentistry? Already we have established a two-dimensional imaging modality like RBG and so much of the OPG like that. What is the need for cone beam computed tomography in dentistry? Okay, and importantly, how to analyze the CBCT case if you have a CD in your hand, or if you have a case in your hand or DICOM data in your hand, how to analyze the CBCT software. I am going to tell you some tips and tricks about software explanation. Then final part of my lecture will be about what will be the diagnostic applications in CBCT in dentistry. I am running a CBCT center, almost two CBCT centers for 4 years, one in Madurai, another one is in Salem. Initially, we have struggled a lot to explain to the doctors and dentists what is the need for CBCT in dentistry. Still, so many doctors are thinking that CBCT is an imaging modality exclusively for implant imaging. Actually, it is not like that. Okay, it is yet another diagnostic tool, wonderful diagnostic tool in dentistry. You can analyze the 99% of cases, as well as you can come to the very good diagnostic information with this diagnostic tool. Okay, this is not for implant imaging, implant planning. Implant companies are telling that you need a CBCT for successful implant planning. Otherwise, if you return the implant, they will not take you. Okay, that is the problem. Okay, so it will be structured in like that, very basics of CBCT and software analysis, as well as clinical applications in dentistry. Okay, slowly I will move on to the lecture. Before that, I have to thank these two legends. One is everybody knows Professor Dr. N. Gnanasundaram sir. Because of him only we are working in various dental colleges as a person of oral medicine radiology. He put the first seed in Tamil Nadu. He is the person who started oral medicine radiology. Second person, my professor, my teacher, Dr. Ravi David Austin. We are fortunately we are the first batch student of postgraduate students of Annamalai University. Okay, thank you, my dear teachers. Slowly I will move on to the topic. So without thank this person, without putting this as a first slide, we could not able to continue this lecture. Mr. Ranjan, extraordinary innovation in November 8, 1895. He is not a doctor. So this presentation will be, the slides and the images will be repeated for somebody, because the presentation already I did in some other colleges also. I asked Dr. Kannan, he said very new participants are there, interns are also participating. That's why I made it the same presentation. I want to make it as a little more simpler. That's why I'm using this presentation. Sorry for the inconvenience if you are seeing the repeated slides. So Mr. Ranjan invented something. It is not a very great thing for him, but without that invention, diagnostic radiology, diagnostic medicine, diagnosis dentistry is a question mark only. He found something, unknown rays. He stated that on a new kind of ray, it is for a preliminary communication. What he stated that, he stated something, some unknown rays which can able to penetrate the tissues. Finally, we can able to record the images on a photographic film or radiographic film. That is his statement. On unknown rays, we can able to record the photographic just a minute. Okay, we can able to record the images in a photographic film or radiographic film. Okay, so that is his invention in November 8, 1895. So immediately after the dentistry has come to the field. This is the, can you all able to see my mouse? It seems it is the first ever dental radiograph of the world. It is taken by Dr. Edmund Kells, 1896. Okay, and he has maintaining some radiographic report format in 1901. And I have told in a lot of my lectures that in 1901 itself, he is maintaining some radiographic report format, but still actually we are not doing that. Okay. So these are all some earlier radiographs, X-ray radiographs, almost it need 25 minutes to take on single exposure. Okay. So these are all some earlier radiographic machine, X-ray machines. Okay, so now the main topic is the difference between these two. What is conventional film-based imaging method, and another one is digital computer imaging method. Almost nowadays we are all using digital imaging method, that is RVG. Still, many are using conventional film-based method only. Most of the time we are using in the college is film-based imaging. The difference is X-rays will be emitted from the X-ray tube. In the conventional method, the film will get exposed to the X-rays. Okay, it stores the data. Finally, after manual processing method, after developer and water and fixer, we can able to see the image in a radiographic film. But in the digital method, we are using a radiographic sensor instead of a radiographic film. Okay, here the radiographic sensor will get exposed to the X-rays. The data will stored in the radiographic sensor. Immediately after computer processing method, within a second, we can able to see the images in the monitor. This is the basic difference. That is the manual processing method. Here it is a computer processing method. Okay. Now I used to ask this question to wherever I go. What is the need for digital imaging modality in dentistry? Okay. From 1896 onwards, we are using conventional film-based technique. Digital imaging or RVG technology has come to the field in 1987. What is the need? Okay. What is the need for digital imaging method? First and foremost important one, it is very, very minimal radiation dose when compared to the conventional film-based imaging. Okay. Very, very minimal radiation dose. It requires only less than 70% of radiation when compared to the conventional film-based imaging method. Okay. And moreover, immediately we can able to get the images within the second. So there is a reduced processing time. What we do in conventional film-based method, we used to take an X-ray, we go to the dark room, developer, water fixer, and sometimes, or most of the times, nothing will be there in the film. Again, we have to call the patient, and most of the time we will not do. We will come and tell the patient, yes, it is fine, you can go ahead. But in digital imaging method, it is not like that. Immediately, you can able to take n number of images, and we can go for enhancements also. Okay, if you want to increase the contrast, you can. If you want to decrease the contrast, if you want to increase the sharpness, if you want to zoom, if you want to go for any measurement, it is possible from the digital imaging method. This everybody knows. Important point, what you have to keep it in mind is very minimal radiation dose, and it is environment friendly. No need to dispose the waste, don't need to dispose the chemicals, lead foil, seeds, and for many radiographs we can take. And one important point I want to tell you to my dear friends, while using digital imaging method or RVG, we are most of the time we are not remembering the radiation safety protocols. This is my personal opinion. As I told, in the conventional film-based method, if we have to go to the dark room, after that, if nothing is there, we will not to go for the second X-ray. But my friends, many of my friends are including me, if we are doing the root canal treatment, our concentration only about the apex of the tooth or mesiobuccal second canal or something. We are not bothering about the radiation exposure. During the single root canal treatment, repeatedly, we are taking many exposures. We are not worrying about that. You should keep it in mind. Single X-ray photon also a harmful. Okay. This is the basic difference between the conventional film-based and RVG1. Again, I will tell you, this is the very, very basic CBCT presentation for undergraduates as well as the first year postgraduates. Okay, and this is the radiographic image of the RVG. You can able to go for a lot of enhancement in this one. Okay, I had put many intraoral periapical pictures as well as two-dimensional imaging like OPG pictures to get your coordination into the area of diagnosis. Another one, missed out field or neglecting field in dentistry. We are going advancement in each and every branches of dentistry. Most of the times we are not bothering about the importance of diagnosis. Many of my friends are asking very, very simple doubts while showing the very simple IOPs. You should not forget that sometimes just by looking at an IOPA, just by looking at an OPG, you can able to identify the patient's systemic disease. There are many things we studied, but we forgot at the final year of our BDS, we have not following that. Okay, these are all some simple pictures. You can able to see acute angulation of this dilacerated tooth here and there. This is the importance of pre-operative radiographs before going for root canal treatment or before going for impaction. How it will be helpful. Okay, and before going for root canal treatment, you can able to analyze the horizontal fracture here, horizontal fracture here. Before going for root canal treatment, there is a fracture instrument is here. Okay, Dr. Kannan. Hello, Dr. Kannan.
Yes.
It's everything is clear, right?
Yeah, everything is clear.
Okay, can you able to see my mouse and pointers, everything, right?
Yeah, it's there.
Okay,
mouse is clear, pointer is clear.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Image is also clear.
Okay, so okay, this is about these are some other IOPA pictures. This is just a simple one. Can we go ahead for root canal treatment for this type of cases? That is the question. For this case, yes, it is a periodontal bone loss, localized periodontitis, but there is a furcation involvement is here. So directly we cannot go for root canal treatment. Again, same thing here, furcation involvement in this tooth. What about this? The third one, it is a case of internal resorption. Okay, trauma or some other issues can cause internal resorption of the tooth. We cannot go for simple direct root canal treatment for this case. Okay, I am going to slowly put some pathological pictures. These two are normal regular IOPA. Can you able to notice the difference between first picture and second picture? Can you able to notice the difference in the trabecular pattern here? Yes, it is not a normal trabecular bone pattern of first IOPA and second IOPA. The first picture is the ground glass appearance. We can call it as a ground glass appearance. It is a case of fibrous dysplasia. Second picture is cotton wool appearance. Okay, it is a case of Paget disease. Okay, fibrous dysplasia, you all know it is a developmental disease. It developed during our developmental period. It stops after our maturation. Paget disease, it's a systemic disease caused due to increased alkaline phosphatase level. See, by looking at one IOPA or just by looking at an OPG, you can able to identify the patient's systemic disease. If you identify this case properly, immediately you will go for OPG. Definitely you can able to make out multiple cotton wool appearance. Immediately you can go for a skull radiograph. Okay, you can able to make out multiple cotton wool appearance. It is a case of Paget disease. Next you can go for blood investigation. Okay, so there is a you have to look at the variation in the trabecular pattern also, and these are all simple bone loss, localized periodontitis. Here both first and second pictures are localized periodontitis. And look at this picture carefully. First picture is localized periodontitis. Second picture also, can we call it as a localized periodontitis? That is the question mark. Okay, localized periodontitis, here it is a both horizontal as well as vertical bone loss is here. Look at the first picture, there is a uniform scooped out bone loss is noticed. Okay, look at the second picture, there is no uniform scooped out bone loss in the alveolar bone from the crestal region to the apical region. Look at this picture carefully. It is a case of some dangerous disease called osteosarcoma. Look at the picture now carefully. It is not a smooth bone loss pattern. It is a ragged or poorly defined borders. We can call it as moth-eaten appearance. It is a case of osteosarcoma. Irregular widening of periodontal ligament space. It is called as Garrington sign of osteosarcoma. Why I have put this picture in this lecture is to know the importance of radiographic diagnosis just by looking at one IOPA. For this case, you cannot simply go for scaling and root planning. You cannot simply go for remove this tooth. You have to keep something in mind. Okay, something is not good. We have to go for further investigation. Okay. So next, I will move on to the very commonest imaging modality is OPG. I have put something about what is IOPA, what is RPG, what is the difference between these two. I have put some IOPA pictures. Next, very good imaging modality is OPG. We all know it is a very friendly radiograph to all the dentists. It is from 1950s. We are using this extraordinary imaging modality. It's a combination of three positions. One is APV, one front AP view, and two lateral views. Okay. Many other medical imaging modalities are not having this much information. OPG is repeatedly I'm saying that is very good imaging modality, but what I am going to express in this lecture is still we are not reading, still we are not interpreting OPG properly. Okay, so we have to improve the skills. It is not a single image, it is a compressed data of so many information. Not only maxilla and mandible, maxillary process of zygoma, zygomatic process of maxilla, zygomatic process of temporal bone, temporal process of zygoma bone, condyle, TMJ, articular eminence, pterygoid region, hyoid bone, styloid process. There are so many information is there. Simply you are taking OPG for example, for impacted 4.8 if you are going for a OPG. Many of us are say, looking at the one impacted 4.8. We are not giving our concentration into some other area, opposite area, 1.8 or 3.8 region. Okay, if you can able to identify the OPG properly, you can able to diagnose n number of cases. This is another OPG. It's a very old one. During our PG days, you used to put this picture everywhere. Okay, can you able to make the abnormalities in this OPG? Yes, this is a case of localized or generalized periodontitis. There, missing tooth is there. There is a root stump is here. Look at the condyle both the side when compared to the right condyle to the left condyle. Can you able to make the difference? There is a uniform enlargement of the right side condyle when compared to the left side condyle. It is a case of condylar hyperplasia. Okay, the patient complaint will be, sir, எனக்கு வந்து கண்ணாடியில பார்க்கும்போது எனக்கு வந்து சின்ன ஒரு பக்கமா மூவ் ஆகிக்கிட்டே இருக்கிறது மாதிரி இருக்கு சார். இவ்வளவுதான் பேஷண்ட் கம்ப்ளைண்ட் இருக்கும். ப்ராக்ரெசிவ் டீவியேஷன் ஆஃப் சின் டுவர்ட்ஸ் ஒன் சம் சைட் ஆர் ஆப்போசிட் சைட். ஒரு 5 இயர்ஸா பார்க்கும்போது, ஒரு 6 இயர்ஸா பார்க்கும்போது. ஓகே, so if you look at the OPG properly, you can able to make out condylar hyperplasia. Again, it is a developmental disease. Developmental disease means you cannot go for surgical treatment during his developmental period. You have to wait till his maturation. Okay, so this is the case of condylar hyperplasia. And look at this case. This case is this OPG showing generalized periodontitis, maybe aggressive periodontitis, but the patient complaint is not of a mobile tooth. The patient complains about unexplained cervicofacial pain for more than 1 year. Cervicofacial pain. Sorry, எனக்கு கழுத்து ஒரு பக்கம் திருப்புனா வலிக்குது சார். அதுதான் பேஷண்டோட கம்ப்ளைண்ட். Okay, is there any diagnostic information in the OPG? Yes. Now look at the styloid process both the side. Look at the styloid process here. Look at the styloid process here. இதுதான் வந்து நம்ம ஒரு OPG பார்க்கும்போது most of the time our concentration will be on tooth and supporting structures only. We will not bother about the TMJ or styloid process or hyoid bone or maxillary sinus or zygoma or something. Okay, so it is the case of elongated styloid process. Otherwise, we can call it as Eagle syndrome. Okay. Again, second case, same case. Look at the elongated styloid process here, both the side. Okay, it's a case of Eagle syndrome. And this picture, this is a very not a very clear OPG, but can you make out any difference in this picture? Okay, now look at there is a generalized trabecular bone pattern density is lost. Okay, can you able to make out this? There is in both in the maxilla as well as mandible. Generalized density of the trabecular bone pattern is lost. We can call it as osteoporosis. Now look at the tooth and supporting structures. In supporting structures, look at the lamina dura. Can you able to notice lamina dura in any of the teeth here? It is a centralized, it is a case of generalized loss of lamina dura. It is a case of hyperparathyroidism. So that's what I told you. Just by looking at an OPG or just by looking at an IOPA, we can able to identify the patient systemic disease. So it might be hyperparathyroidism. If you take an MRI or CT, you can able to find out hyperplasia of the parathyroid gland. If it is a hyperplasia of parathyroid gland, there will be excessive secretion of the parathyroid. If there is excessive secretion of the parathyroid, there will be depletion of the calcium in the generalized body condition. So there will be loss of cortical bone as well as cortical bone proper. So that is the one of the findings. Generalized loss of lamina dura. There is a possibility for hyperparathyroidism. So this is the next case. I used to put this picture everywhere. If you identify the OPG properly, we can able to make out, we can able to diagnose some dangerous diseases also. Okay, it is a case of AV malformation, arteriovenous malformation, okay, of the left mandibular body region. Can you able to notice some osteolytic lesion here? We have to notice the osteolytic lesion here. If it is OPG is not clear, okay. So, for example, if the patient is, if you are taking only one IOPA for this tooth number 37, the patient also complaint of mobility in tooth number 37. What your IOPA will reveal, there is a vertical bone loss is here. Patient tooth is mobile. What you will keep it in mind? What you will think in mind? Okay, there is a localized periodontitis. We have to remove the tooth. If you put on if you start extracting this tooth, definitely that day will be a very worst day for you. You cannot able to control the bleeding in the chair side. Okay, how to analyze it from the OPG? Now, what you have to do is compare the morphology of the inferior alveolar canal bilaterally. Okay, compare the morphology of inferior alveolar canal bilaterally. Look at the right side morphology here. Now look at the left side morphology here. The canal size is enlarged. Okay, there is a lesion. It is originates from the enlarged canal and ends almost in the parasymphysis region. Okay, so there is a radiographic interpretation rules. If you find any abnormality above the mandibular canal, there is a possibility for some odontogenic disease. For example, a radicular cyst or dentoalveolar abscess or ameloblastoma or something. If you find any abnormality above the mandibular canal. If you find any abnormality below the mandibular canal, possibility for some non-odontogenic diseases. Okay, non-odontogenic diseases means lipoma, fibroma, or salivary gland tumor. If you find any abnormality within the mandibular canal, possibility for vascular or neural disease. Okay, if you find any abnormality within the canal, possibility for vascular or neural disease. So you have to keep it in mind that you can able to diagnose vascular lesion also if you can able to read the OPG properly. Okay. Again, this is another case. I have put a few pictures to get your coordination into the field of diagnosis. It is not a CBCT lecture. CBCT lectures can able to take by the CBCT technicians or radiographer or company persons. This is the lecture of the oral and maxillofacial radiologist. This is you should know the importance of radiographic diagnosis, whatever it is, IOPA or OPG or CBCT or CT, your diagnostic talent is important. Okay. Again, this is the picture. It is very simple case. You can able to make out some radiolucent lesion here. Otherwise, we can call it as osteolytic lesion associated with the impacted tooth. Everybody can answer this. Most probably a dentigerous cyst. Okay, how to analyze, how to tell it is a dentigerous cyst? Look at the radiolucency. It starts from the CEJ of this impacted tooth here. Okay, if the radiolucency starts from the CEJ, possibility for possibility for dentigerous cyst. Okay, I will repeat it again. If the radiolucency associated with the impacted tooth, if the radiolucency starts from the CEJ, possibility for dentigerous cyst. If the radiolucency completely surrounds the tooth, possibility for OKC. If there is a radiolucent lesion associated with the apex of the tooth, possibility for radicular cyst. If some radiolucency pushes the tooth somewhere away, possibility for some aggressive diseases like ameloblastoma. Okay. Next picture. Now look at the pattern of the bone loss here. There is a bone loss is here. Look at the pattern of the bone loss. Again, it is a ragged or poorly defined borders. We can call it as moth-eaten appearance. It is a case of squamous cell carcinoma of the mandible. Okay, so now we will move on to the our next important imaging modality. That is the hero of today's topic. That is three-dimensional imaging modality in dentistry. So far we have discussed something about what is IOPA, what is the difference between IOPA and the RVG, and some diagnostic importance of IOPA as well as in the OPG. Now we are going to move into the important point, that is three-dimensional imaging in dentistry. What is the need for three-dimensional imaging in dentistry? As I told, very good imaging modalities like OPG is there and RVG is there, IOPA is there. What is the need for three-dimensional imaging modalities? Okay, the important disadvantage or important limitation of the two-dimensional radiography is you are taking a 2D image of a three-dimensional object. That is the main difference. Okay, maxilla or mandible, it is not just a 2D film-like object. It is a three-dimensional object. You are taking a three-dimensional object. You are taking you are seeing as just a 2D film. That means what you are seeing is you are seeing just only compressed data, okay, or stacked or compressed information in just a 2D image. Okay, first this picture is a maxilla, this one is mandible. This mandible outer side is a buccal cortical plate, inner side that is a lingual cortical plate. In between outer cortical plate and lingual cortical plate there is a internal trabecular bone pattern is here. This is the three-dimensional information. This is the three-dimensional object. Okay, but in a film or sensor, you are seeing just a compressed information of all together. Sometimes there will be some osteosclerosis in between both the buccal cortical plate. Sometimes there is a radiolucent here, lesion here. So finally, you will be seeing some compressed image. Okay. For that, okay, it is about IOPA. If you are seeing an extra oral radiography, whether it is OPG or any skull radiography, your 2D image will be like this only. Okay, it is a three-dimensional object. Okay, our skull bone is a very complicated skeleton. There are a lot of small bones are joined together. Almost 22 to 25 bones are joined together. Okay, all the bones, you are, it is the PA radiograph, PA skull view. You are compressed data from the tip of the nose to the occipital bone in a single two-dimensional image. Okay, so there will be a lot of superimposition will be there in the two-dimensional imaging modality. If you want to remove all the superimposition, if you want to see your area of interest or if your area of slice, what we need to do. So there are a lot of bones are there in the maxillofacial skeleton. There is a frontal bone, nasal bone, ethmoidal bone is here. It's a maxillary alveolar bone, mandibular alveolar bone, zygoma, temporal bone. All small bones are intricately joined together. But in 2D imaging modality, all the bones will be get superimposed in a single two-dimensional film. Okay, if you want to see all the small bones separately or all the layer by layer, all the slice by slice separately, what to do? For that, we need to go for some other interesting imaging modality. Okay, look at this picture, just a 2D image. It is the X-ray source. Look at this object. Okay, there is abnormalities here or something, we can call it as neoplasm or something. That is a black one is abnormality. This object and this object, this green color object is, we can assume that some other bone, this yellow color one is some other bone. Okay, your abnormality is placed in between two different dense bones or something else. Okay, in two-dimensional imaging modality, what will happen, your abnormality or your area of interest will get superimposed by the bone present front and back. Okay, the abnormality will get superimposed by the bone present front and back. I don't want to see the green color object. I don't want to see the yellow color object. That means I don't want to see the bone front of it. I don't want to see the bone back of it. I want to see the particular abnormality alone, what to do. That I want to see the particular slice alone, what to do. We have to go for tomography. Tomo is nothing but slice. Okay, tomo is nothing but slice, graphy is to write. We have to, if I want to see the data, if I want to see the object, or if I want to see the patient head or body or maxillofacial region, slice by slice, what to do? We need to go for tomography. It is not possible from the conventional radiography. Okay, so this is the principle of conventional tomography. Conventional tomography, again, it is an older method just to rule out the limitation of superimposition. Okay, it is also available from the 1960s. Conventional tomography is nothing but, I'll tell you the principle simply in one sentence. Now see, look at the image. Again, there are three objects are there. Center one is circular one. Here it's a square one. Here is a triangular one. Okay, keep it in mind. The center circular one is your area of interest or some tumor. Above there is one bone is there, below there is one bone is there. Okay, if you want to see this alone, you don't want to see these two. Okay, for that, what they have did in conventional tomography, simultaneous movement of X-ray tube and film in opposite direction. Okay, simultaneous movement of X-ray tube and film in opposite direction to keep only the area of interest in focus. Okay, simultaneous movement of X-ray tube in flame in opposite direction to keep our area of interest in focus. Finally, our desired layer will be there in the image. Repeatedly it will be focused. The nearest area will be blurred. That is called conventional tomography. But again, here also we cannot able to completely eliminate the unwanted structures. What I told you, I don't want to see the bone present front in it. I don't want to see the bone present back in it. I want to see the particular size slice alone. Here the conventional tomography, yes, it is a tomography principle. Here also we cannot able to completely eliminate the unwanted layers. For that, the beautiful, wonderful technique has been developed that is called computer tomography. Now we can able to make out the flow. What is the need for three-dimensional imaging in dentistry? Okay, how it is evaluated. Okay, from the OPG, there are some superimposition limitations are there. If you want to see the section by section or slice by slice, we need to go for tomography. Conventional tomography also, there are some limitations. Still, we are taking TMJ tomograms. That is conventional tomography only. So, if you want to completely eliminate the unwanted structures, we need to go for some cross-sectional imaging modality. That is achieved by Mr. Godfrey in Hounsfield in 1969. He invented computer tomography. Okay, he is the first person. He awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1970. Okay, so we all know it is an extraordinary imaging modality. Without this invention, the diagnostic medicine as well as diagnostic dentistry is a question mark. Okay, so what is computer tomography? Just a cross-sectional image, computerized cross-sectional image. That's all. Okay, you are going to the cross-section alone. Otherwise, you can call it as you are going to see the slice alone, whichever slice you want. Okay, if you want to take any slice of any selected area in your body, take the slice and you can able to view that. Okay, this is called computerized cross-sectional imaging. You all, this is the first prototype CT scanner. Okay, it will be very much helpful for the neurosurgeons initially because brain is completely covered by a dense skull bone. The neurosurgeons want to separate it from the bone as well as gray matter, white matter, and corpus callosum. Okay, so that is very, very difficult for the neurosurgeon from the two-dimensional radiography. Mostly computer tomography technology has been developed for neurosurgery only. Now, after that, it has been developed for each and every field as well as medicine as well as dentistry. There is prototype CT scanner. You all must have seen this is the current CT scanner picture. Many of you have been seen the CT scanner image. Sometimes our people, normally we must have taken CT for ourselves, for our family. This large one is called as gantry. Okay, this is the patient table. See, what you have to keep it in mind, whatever it is, CT or CBCT or PET CT or SPECT, whatever it is, the concept is simple. Okay, X-ray tube and sensor. That's all. What we have studied for digital imaging method, X-ray tube. Opposite, we have kept one sensor. The concept is same. Okay. Here also in the gantry, there will be a X-ray tube. Just opposite to the X-ray tube, there will be a sensor will be there. But here there will be multiple X-ray tubes will be there in a rotation circular axis. Just opposite to the X-ray tube, there will be a sensor. High-end X-ray tube, high-end sensor or detectors. Okay, now they are using cesium iodide scintillator detectors. Okay, high volume X-ray tube will be there. That is the basic difference between the intraoral periapical radiography to the CT. We need X-ray tube. X-ray tube should send X-rays. That X-rays should penetrate the patient tissues. Finally, it should be recorded in a sensor. The sensor should store the information. The information should send to the computer. The computer is going to process the image. We are going to sit and play with the software to analyze the various slices or sections. This is the basic concept-wise difference. Okay, so this is gantry. This is the patient table. I will tell you the computer tomography principle also in a very simpler way. The patient has to be lie down in the patient table. The table should move into the gantry. Okay, keep it in mind, one complete 360-degree rotation of the X-ray tube around the patient body to capture one single slice. Okay, I'll repeat it again. Patient table will move into the gantry. Patient adula paduthirupparu, adukulla pogudu. one complete 360-degree rotation around the patient body, that is X-ray tube is going to rotate around the patient body for 360-degree to capture one single slice. Idha mukkiyamaana vaartha, one single slice. Avaladan. That slice thickness will be predetermined. Okay, namma which area we are going to take the scan, which slice thickness we are going to do, everything is predetermined. After that, the table is going to move into the gantry. One complete 360-degree rotation for capturing one single slice. For further slice, the table will move further into the gantry. For further slice, again the table will move further into the gantry. I am telling this slowly, but the process will be in speed. Okay, this is the basic principle of computer tomography. Okay, now I am entering into today's topic just now, that is cone beam computer tomography. It is nothing. Cone beam computer tomography, the principle, everything is almost same as computer tomography. That's why I have kept it as a last one. You should be able to understand what is tomography. Okay, then what is computer tomography? Just a computer tomography. Another one advancement is cone beam computer tomography. Okay, it is nothing something from the sky or something only for not like that. It is a simple computerized cross-sectional imaging modality. Specifically, now we are using in the field of dentistry. Okay, now again I am going to ask the same question what I asked you for when we have the intraoral imaging modality, that is film-based imaging modality. What is the need to go for digital imaging mode? That same question I am going to ask you here. The images, everything are same, almost like same for the medical CT as well as cone beam CT. We can call it as dental CT. Everything all are same. Then what is the need for cone beam computer tomography in dentistry? Okay, CT scanner, CT computer CT centers are available in almost all the places. And everywhere it is minimum 5 to 6, and in Madurai also the CT centers are 5 to 6 computer tomography centers are there. What is the need for cone beam CT? The answer is same for what is the need for digital imaging, that is what is the need for RBG. Here also the answer is same. Okay, you are going to see the same image quality, same cross-sectional slice by slice imaging quality. We are going to see the good images with very minimal radiation dose when compared to the medical CT. Okay, when compared to the medical CT, you are going to require very minimal radiation dose. I'll tell you the dosage level also. Okay, second important point in computer tomography, actually we need one medical radiology person to interpret our data or our images. Okay, most of the time I am not telling the MDRD persons or DMRD persons are not knowing our area. Most of the time they are not showing that much interest in the field of maxillofacial region. Okay, I'm having the experience. I worked in a radiology CT center for almost 2 years. It is a very good radiologist, but they are not knowing detail about our maxillofacial region. Okay, and moreover, our boss Dr. Gnanasundaram sir used to say that our body is composed of 2 type of tissues. One is hard tissue, another one is soft tissue. Otherwise, we can call it as one is bone forming tissue, another one is non-bone forming tissue. Otherwise, osteogenic or non-osteogenic tissue. In oral cavity, we have a specialized tissue called odontogenic tissue. Okay, nama BDS seramode nama specialist da. We have a specialized tissue called odontogenic tissues. N number of abnormalities, diseases, syndromes, disinfection will arise from the odontogenic tissue that medical radiologist could not be able to delve in detail about those aspects. Second one, நம்மளுடைய ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் சின்ன நீட்ஸ் இப்போ ஒரு பெரிய மெடிக்கல் ரேடியாலஜிஸ்ட் ஒரு பெரிய டயக்னோஸ்டிக் சென்டர் போய் சார் எனக்கு டூத் நம்பர் 16ல மேசியோ பக்கல் கனால் செகண்ட் கனால் இருக்கான்னு பார்த்து சொல்லுங்க நான் சொல்லுவாரா? For that we should know how to operate our software. So here in cone beam CT, you are the radiologist for your own diseases, for your own problem. You no need to rely on any radiologist person. Okay, the DICOM data, the software data will give you in the CD, will have all the information. Just you should know how to play the software, and you can able to analyze any diseases within the data. Okay, so cone beam computer tomography, I have introduced cone beam computer tomography. Computer tomography CT has been developed in 1969. It is developed in 1996. First cone beam CT in the market is in 2001. That was developed by Newton in Italy. Okay, just 4 points. The differences between the medical CT and dental CT, we can call it as cone beam CT. Okay, there are 4 points. One is shape of the X-ray beam. Second one, size of the detector. Third one, useful anatomic cross-sectional planes. Fourth one, radiation dose. Only these 4 differences from medical CT to the cone beam CT. Okay, shape of the beam. Medical CT, that is conventional CT, will deliver fan-shaped X-ray beam. Okay, your beam will be like this. A fan-shaped beam will be there. In cone beam CT, your shape of the beam is cone type of beam, cone-shaped beam. Okay. Now, in this slide, I will tell you the principle of CBCT also in one simple sentence. Okay. What I told you in the computer tomography, that is medical CT, the principle is one complete 360-degree rotation around the patient body to capture one single slice. That is computer tomography. In cone beam CT, one complete 360-degree rotation around the patient body or patient head to capture the complete data. That's all. Okay. In medical CT, slice by slice technology. Here, in one complete rotation, we are going to capture the whole data. After that, the data is going to send to the computer. It will be stored as a DICOM data, or we can call it as a raw data. The raw data will be transferred to the software. The software will be going to show you as a slices of DICOM images. Okay. So this is the basic difference between the medical CT as well as cone beam CT. Okay. So look at the medical CT is deliver the fan-shaped X-ray beam depending upon the size of the slice thickness. Okay. I told you for next slice, again, it should move further into the gantry depending upon the slice thickness. Here in cone beam CT, there is a one complete rotation will capture the whole data what we have selected. Okay. Look at the fan beam CT. The detector is linear detector, thin detector. One complete rotation will capture the data or information of that particular slice thickness. Okay. In cone beam CT, one look at the size of the detector. That is large flat panel detector. On 360-degree rotation captures the complete whole data. That's all. This is the principle wise difference. Okay. The cone beam CT is going to rotate around the patient head. Okay. It's going to deliver multiple 2D exposures only. Okay. It's not going to deliver a 3-dimensional radiographic exposure. It is going to deliver multiple 2D exposures only, around 600 to 800 exposures in one single rotation. All the information will be received by the flat panel detector or scintillator detector. The information will be sent to the computer. We'll be saying a lot of images that is called the basis images. All the images will be look like a cephalometric image. That is called the basis images. That basis images, this data is called as raw data. This raw data will be going into the software. Every companies are using different software. For example, Carestream is using on different software. Okay. Newton is using some different software. Sirona is using some different software. In that software, we can be able to analyze the data. Okay. Next. First one is I told you the shape of the X-ray beam. The beam is fan shape. Here is cone shaped beam. And second important one, we can able to image in all 3 planes. Okay. Just a minute.
Hello.
Okay, can I proceed?
Yeah, you can.
Can I proceed?
Yeah, you can proceed, doctor.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, now you're going to see the imaging in all the three planes, that is axial, coronal and sagittal. Another one is cross sectional plane. I'm going to explain that planes also now. The problem is the seeing the three-dimensional data, that is computer tomography or MRI in a film. Previously, that is 4-5 years before, ஏதாவது ஒரு பேஷண்ட் வந்திருந்தாங்க அப்படின்னா அவங்க பேக்ல வந்து ஒரு சீட் எடுத்து வந்திருந்தாங்கன்னா they'll be keeping 4-5 films in their bag. ஓகே, அதை பார்த்தாலே நமக்கு ஒரு பயமா இருக்கும். ஏன்னா we do not know அந்த ஃபிலிமை பார்த்து எடுத்து நம்ம பார்த்து எதை பார்க்கணும் அப்படின்றது தெரியாது. ஸோ I feel now currently இப்போ அந்த மாதிரி ப்ராப்ளம் இல்லை. So hereafter you are going to see the images in these three planes only. Ipo you have to forget your IOPA image and as well as OPG image. You are going to see the images in these three planes. One is axial, another one is coronal, another one is sagittal plane. I will explain you these planes also. Okay, so the patient will be having this type of film. So this is the plane, that is axial, coronal and sagittal one. Blue color one is axial one, the red is coronal, the green one is sagittal one. Okay, so if you can able to see me, that is axial slices are nothing but our cuts will be like this. Okay, look at my face if it is possible. Your cuts will be like this, that is from the lower part of the mandible or top of the skull, or from the top la irundhu keela varaikkum your cuts will be like this, that is axial slices. Coronal slice from front to back, that is from the tip of the nose to the back side. Okay, or headphone matna eppadi irukum adu madri, from the tip of the nose to the back side your slices will be like this. Sagittal slices from left to right or right to left. Okay, ஒரு பக்கத்து காதுல இருந்து இன்னொரு பக்கத்து காது, from ear to ear. Okay, your slices will be like this. Okay, I'll tell you again. So இதுல நீங்க கிளியரா இருந்தா தான் உங்களுக்கு வந்து எந்த ஸ்லைஸ் பாக்குறீங்க அப்படின்ற டவுட் இல்லாம இருக்கும். Axial slices, your slices will be like this. Coronal front to back, your slices will be like this. Sagittal left to right, your slices will be like this. Okay, axial is blue color here in this picture, sagittal is green color, coronal is red color. Okay, so now I have put some pictures to get your coordination into which slice you are seeing. A is sagittal slice, B is axial slice, C is coronal slice. Okay, A வந்து கட் வந்து இப்படி ஒரு சென்டர்ல இருக்க எடுத்திருக்க sagittal slice, B is axial slice, C is coronal slice. Okay, front la irundhu back la poirukanga. Okay, so your axial slices will be like this, coronal slice will be like this. These are some of the diagnostic representation. These are all axial slices. இதுல ஏதாவது உங்களுக்கு டவுட் இருக்கு அப்படினா ஸ்டாப் பண்ணிடுங்க. This is very basic only, you all know this. So axial slices, these are all axial slices. This one is coronal slice. Okay, so first you should know which slice you are seeing, next you should know which area you are seeing. Okay, இது coronal slice அப்படினு first ஐடென்டிஃபை பண்றீங்க. பண்ணதுக்கு அப்புறம் எந்த ஏரியாவோட coronal slice அப்படினு பார்க்க போறீங்க. Okay, this is the coronal slice. இந்த பக்கத்துல இருக்க பிக்சர் பாருங்க, இந்த ரெட் கலர் ஏரியா இருக்கு பாத்தீங்களா, அதோட coronal slice. Okay, this is the coronal slice. Now look at the frontal bone here, it is the nasal septum, here is a nasal turbinates, inferior turbinate. This is the nasal floor, maxillary alveolar bone, mandibular alveolar bone here. This is right maxillary sinus, this is left maxillary sinus. Okay, எந்த ஸ்லைஸ் அப்படின்னு பார்த்துட்டு அதுக்கப்புறம் எந்த ஏரியான்னு பார்த்துட்டீங்கன்னா then you can come to the normal anatomic landmarks. Repeatedly நீங்க if you are seeing this type of images you can able to identify. Okay, first for beginners it is little bit difficult only. First you have to identify the slice, then you should identify the area which slice it is, then you should come to the normal anatomic landmarks. Finally you can able to differentiate between which one is normal, which one is abnormal. Okay, in this case there is a complete maxillary sinus inflammation. Here it is partial obliteration of the maxillary sinus in the right side. Okay, again A is sagittal slice, just look at these places. B is coronal slice, C is axial slice. Okay, இது slices of maxillary sinus level. Okay, maxillary sinus level எடுத்துக்கக்கூடிய மூணு slices. In the axial slice C பாத்தீங்கன்னா this is the tip of the nose. Look at my mouse, this is the tip of the nose. Okay, this is occipital bone, center one is nasal septum, right maxillary sinus, left maxillary sinus, this is sphenoid bone, this is zygoma, this is zygomatic arch, this small one are condyle, cross section of the condyle, here mastoid hair cells, this is as I told you orbital bone. Same thing like sagittal slice as well as coronal slice. So again, these are the axial, coronal, and sagittal slices. You can able to identify which slice it is. Axial slice of maxilla or mandible. Yes, it is maxilla. Maxilla, which level? That is sinus level. I have pointed out one anatomical landmass in the maxillary sinus level. Here, it is the incisive canal or incisive foramen. Okay. Okay. In CBCT, you should keep it in mind that so far I have explained about three slices. One is axial slice, another one is coronal slice, another one is sagittal slice. Okay, axial, coronal, sagittal na sollirundhen. CBCT la there is one additional slice. It will be very much useful for dentist or in dentistry or implant planning or whatever it is. That is called transaxial slices. Okay, that means if look at me, axial slice. Edavadhu or axial slice, you take it the axial slices from anywhere. You are going to cut the slices like this further. Okay, take one axial slice and you are going to cut the slices like this. After that, you are going to view the slice like this. Okay, that is called transaxial slices. On implant planning alla indha mari images da ungalku potu tharuvaanga. Any axial slice, cut the further slice like this. The axial slice eduthu further appdi cut pannittu you can able to see the slices like this. This is buccal cortical plate, this is lingual cortical plate, this is inner trabecular bone. This small circular one is inferior alveolar canal. Okay, this will be very much helpful for your implant planning. Okay, so this is I told you about shape of the beam and various anatomical planes as well as size, detector size. Last one is radiation, reduced radiation dose when compared to the medical CT. Okay, see this ஒரே ஒரு இது மட்டும் நான் சொல்லிறேன் நானு. If you want to take one single IOPA in a conventional film based imaging method, it requires around 8 microsievert. Okay, normal IOPA conventional film based imaging modality எடுத்தீங்கன்னா it needs 8 microsievert. If you take the same IOPA in a digital imaging method, it requires only 2 microsievert. சரியா? If you want to take on OPG, it needs around 14 to 18 microsievert. Okay, இதுக்கு மைக்ரோசீவர்ட்ன்றது தான் யூனிட். இட் இஸ் கால்ட் அஸ் எஃபெக்டிவ் டோஸ். இந்த மெத்தட்ல தான் நம்ம கால்குலேட் பண்ணுவோம். ஒரு ஓபிஜி எடுக்கிறதுக்கு இட் ரிக்வயர்ஸ் அரௌண்ட் 14 to 18 மைக்ரோசீவர்ட். அதே இது ஒரு மேக்சில்லா மேண்டிபிள் சிபிசிடி எடுக்கிறதுக்கு இட் ரிக்வயர்ஸ் அரௌண்ட் 70 to 75 மைக்ரோசீவர்ட். அவ்வளவுதான் மேக்சில்லா அண்ட் மேண்டிபிள் சிபிசிடி எடுக்கிறதுக்கு. அட் த சேம் டைம் maxilla mandible region-க்கு computed CT எடுக்கணும் அப்படினா it requires around 2800 to 3000 microsievert. Okay, so ஒரு single CBCT scan-க்கு வந்து equivalent to 4 OPGs னு வச்சுக்கலாம். We can call it as, we can make it as equivalent to 4 OPG. But at the same time ஒரு computed medical CT ஒரு complete maxillofacial region-க்கு 250 OPGs 1 minute of time la எடுத்தது மாதிரி இருக்கக்கூடிய radiation dose. So look at the how much reduced radiation dose here. Okay, and how much able to analyze the very good clear images. Okay, so in the radiation safety protocols, I am not going to discuss in detail about this age factor. You have to be very careful. In younger age, less than 10 years, you should avoid any type of X-ray radiographic procedures unless and until this is very important. And area of irradiation, that is some areas are radio sensitive, some areas are radio protective, and latent period எடுத்து முடிச்சு எவ்வளவு நாள் கழிச்சு திரும்ப எடுக்கறீங்கன்னு whatever it is, whether it is reduced risk, you have to explain to the patients. Okay, so in CBCT we can make images in various field of view. Okay, field of view அப்படின்றது எவ்வளவு ஏரியா நம்ம செலக்ட் பண்ணிருக்கோம் அப்படின்றது. Full field of view அப்படின்றது craniofacial region around 17 into 13 FOV அப்படின்னு இருக்கும். The CBCT உடைய காஸ்ட் எல்லாம் based on FOV தான். Full FOV machines will be little bit costlier when compared to the small FOV machines. Okay, full FOV machines வாங்க இருந்தோம் அப்படின்னா we can able to go for any type of FOV, but smaller FOV machinesல வந்து full FOV போக முடியாது. Okay, so maxillofacial region-க்கு 10/10 is more than enough. One maxilla or mandible மட்டும் எடுக்கிறதுக்கு 10/5 is more than enough. TMJ region-க்கு 8/8 and less field of view is 5/5. Okay, if you reduce the field of view, you are going to further reduce the radiation exposure. That means unnecessary scattered radiation you are going to reduce. Okay, this is about field of view. Okay, so that's what I have. This is the basic about CBCT. This is the last slide of basics of CBCT. Okay, so we have discussed. I have started from the very basic, from the IOPA to the OPG. What is the need for tomography? What is computer tomography? What is cone beam computer tomography? These are all the advantages. As I told you, this is dedicated for maxillofacial region. We can go for very high resolution images, sub-millimeter resolution images. We can go for rapid scan times, that is 10 to 20 seconds is more than enough, less radiation dose. Okay, only one limitation is there in the CBCT. Soft tissue cannot be imaged in detail. Okay, ஏன்னா இது minimal radiation dose அப்படின்றதுனால only bony tissues மட்டும் தான் clear ஆயிருக்கும். Soft tissues detail பார்க்க முடியாது. We can able to analyze the soft tissue outline. For example, parotid gland la edu abnormality na CBCT is not ideal imaging modality. Flora of the mouth, if you want to see anything in the flora of the mouth, CBCT is not an ideal imaging modality. If you want to identify anything in the tongue, CBCT is not the ideal imaging modality. Okay, this is all about basics of CBCT. Now I want to show you, before going into detail about applications of CBCT in dentistry. Applications, there are some cases only. I want to show you some I want to show you a software explanation, how to see a soft tissue, software in CBCT. Okay. Can I go ahead?
Yes.
Okay. Just let me know. Can you able to view the slices?
Yes, we can able to view the screen.
Okay. Okay. So, இதுதான் CBCT software எப்படி நம்ம பார்க்கிறது அப்படின்றது. Just I am going to explain only one case analysis from the Carestream software, that is CS 3D imaging software. As I told you, there are lot of CBCT companies are there. Carestream அப்படின்றதோட software வந்து CS 3D imaging. Newtom ஓட software வந்து NT viewer. Sirona அப்படின்னா that is Galileo software. Okay, PlanMaker அப்படின்னா Romexix software. See, almost all are same. Okay, that names will be different. சில gimmicks மட்டும் தான் different இருக்கும். That the company people வந்து என்னோட software தான் best, என்னோட software தான் best னுவாங்க. But nothing like that. What you should know is how to analyze the 4 slices. How to see the axial slice, how to see the coronal slice, how to see the sagittal slice, how to go for the cross-sectional slice. That's all. இனி எந்த கம்பெனில இது 4 மட்டும் தெரிஞ்சிருந்தால் போதுமானது. அதுக்கப்புறம் அது நீங்க பார்க்க போறதுதான். ஓகே, ஹியர் ஒரு சிடி கொடுத்த உடனே அந்த சிடியில இருக்கிறதுக்கு பேர் வந்து வாட் த கம்பைல்டு டேட்டா இஸ் கால்டு டைகாம் டேட்டா. ஒரு கேஸ் எடுத்து முடிச்ச உடனே that will be written in the CD. The CD will be stored the DICOM data. DICOM data is nothing but digital imaging for communication in medicine. That is called DICOM, digital imaging in communication in medicine. Okay, and the DICOM data நீங்க இந்த சாஃப்ட்வேர்ல CS 3D imaging softwareல ஓபன் பண்ணீங்கன்னா it will be open like this. Your first slice will be like this. Now look at my mouse. First one is orthogonal slicing. Okay, ஒரு 4 type of slicing இருக்கும். Orthogonal slicing, curved slicing இருக்கும், custom slicing இருக்கும், oblique slicing இருக்கும், and review இருக்கும். இதுல சில விஷயம் தான் நமக்கு தேவை, basics அப்படின்றது. சில detail விஷயம் it is needed only for reporting purpose. Okay, in the first orthogonal slicing, what we are seeing here is one axial slice and coronal and sagittal slice and its 3D reconstruction. Okay, axial, coronal, sagittal and its 3D reconstruction. Okay, சரியா? Okay, every axial slices வந்து each and everything will be having a particular color code. See, look at the axial slice here. Look at the corner, there is a yellow color marking is here. Okay, look at the coronal slice here. Look at the corner, there is a purple color marking is here. Look at the sagittal slice. Look at the corner, there is a green color marking is there. Okay, if you want to move the axial slice, search for the blue color button here. It will be there. If you move the blue color dot, you can able to move the axial slices. Okay. You can able to analyze the which area you are moving. Just look at the three-dimensional image in the corner. Okay. For example, this axial slice, it is located in the maxillary alveolar bone level. Okay. Can you able to analyze there is a impacted tooth number 18 is here. It is a buccoverted impaction here. Okay. Now you are in this level. Okay. Now you are in this level. Look at the yellow color wireframe is here. Now it is axial slice of this level. Okay. Now I am going to little bit upwards at the maxillary sinus level. Okay. This is right maxillary sinus. This is left maxillary sinus. Now I am going to going down. I can able to see one impacted tooth here. Okay. Possibility for impacted tooth number 2, 3. Okay. There is a impacted tooth here. Again, I am going little bit upwards maxillary sinus level. Okay. It is a case of 10 by 10 FOV CBCT case. Okay, 10 by 10 FOV CBCT case, maxilla and mandible will be viewed in detail. Okay, now I'm going to show you the mandible. Now I'm just moving only the axial slice. I am moving this yellow color dot only, yellow color button only. This is the mandible slices. Okay, if I want to move the coronal slice, I have to search for this purple color dot. This purple color dot is here. Okay, I can move from the front to the back. Okay, now you can able to clearly view the movement of coronal slice. Okay, again I am going front. Okay, if you want to move the sagittal slice, I have to search for green color dot here. It is the green color dot. I am moving this green color dot. Now can able to view the movement of sagittal slices in your FOV, that is 10 by 10 FOV. Okay. Now I have seen one impacted tooth number 2, 3. Now I am going to move the axial slices to tooth number 2, 3 level. Now I want to know whether it is crown of tooth number 2, 3 is located buccal side or lingual side. It is close to the buccal cortical plate or lingual cortical. It is the maxillary. Okay, it crown of impacted tooth number 2, 3. Okay, what is this structure? This structure is incisive canal or incisive foramen. Okay, it is just close to the tooth number, crown of tooth number 2, 3. Okay, now I am moving the sagittal slice exactly to tooth number 2, 3 coronal level. Okay. If you want to maximize, go to this maximize option. This is the maximize option. Okay, this is the crown of tooth number 2, 3. This is might be tooth number 2, 1 or 2, 2. Now look at the three-dimensional imaging is here. I am going to maximize the three-dimensional imaging. Look at the sagittal slice exactly at the tooth number 2, 1 level. Now I just minimize this. I open this sagittal slice. Okay. Now the crown of impacted tooth 3 is located just palatal to the apex of tooth 1. That's all. Okay. It is the way of identifying whether the impacted tooth is located buccal side or palatal side. Okay. Now I am going to identify the impacted tooth number 18. Okay. I am moving the coronal slice like this. I kept just exactly at the impacted 18 region. Okay. Now we can able to clearly visible the impacted tooth number 18, just almost close to the sinus floor. Okay. 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 This all about orthogonal slicing. Only you can able to view these 3 planes: axial, coronal, and sagittal. இதை வச்சு நீங்க மூவ் பண்ணி பார்க்க போறீங்க. This orthogonal slicing is the basic slicing. It is analyzed to view any is there any fracture, is there any neoplasm, is there any cyst, is there any tumor, is there any bony abnormality, is there. Just வந்து ஒரு axial slice கீழ இருந்து மேல போறீங்க, எல்லா ஸ்லைஸ்லயும் மூவ் பண்ணி பார்த்தீங்கன்னா you can able to identify some abnormality. Okay. Second one is curved slicing. Okay. Curved slicing is nothing but நமக்கு ரொம்ப ஃப்ரெண்ட்லியான imaging modality, that is OPG. Okay. We are going to create an arch like this. This is the axial view. Look at the corner. There is a yellow color marking is there. This is the axial view. We are going to draw one arch. The arch is created. This is the OPG reconstructed CBCT data. Okay, reconstructed OPG image of CBCT data. Okay, here look at this blue color dots here in the OPG. Can you able to look at the blue color dots here? Okay, if you move the blue color dots from here to the anywhere, you can able to get the cross sectional slices. I told you the fourth slice, that is transaxial slice or cross sectional slice. One is axial, coronal, sagittal. The fourth one is cross sectional slice. Okay, that is take one axial slice somewhere, you cut the slices like this. Okay, this is the cross sectional slice. For that you have to move the blue color dots here and there. Okay, for example, now I am going to look at the tooth number impacted 2, 3. I am moving this cross sectional slice in the OPG. There is tooth number 2, 2 is here. Okay, this is tooth number 2, 2. I am going to maximize this slice. This is tooth number 2, 2. Look at the crown of impacted 2, 3. Okay, this cross sectional slice will be helpful for your implant planning or most of your diagnostic need. This cross sectional slicing will be helpful. Your endodontic need or your orthodontic need, your periodontic need, everything will be settled in this cross sectional slice. For example, if I want to go for implant planning in tooth number 3, 7 region here, okay, I just move this blue color dot to the this area, that is tooth number 3, 7 region. Okay, I just kept in the center of 3, 7 region. Okay, now I just maximize this cross sectional slice. Okay, this is the buccal cortical plate. This one is lingual cortical plate. Can you able to notice the round structure here? This is inferior alveolar canal. We can able to mark the inferior alveolar canal from the cross sectional slices also. Okay, I'll just show you. Look at the OPG view here. There is 20 mm thickness. This thickness is 20 mm. I am going to make it is a very minimal slice thickness, that is 180 micron. Okay, I have to adjust these dots accordingly. I am doing that only. Okay, here can you able to visible the canal clearly? I feel in the right side. Okay, okay. Somewhat I am not going to explain you the complete explanation of the canal. Just a minute. Okay. Now I have to select this canal marking tool. In the tools, there are a lot of tool. Arrow tool is there, measurement tool is there, angulation tool is there, arch creation tool is there, canal marking tool is there, implant planning tool is there. I selected this canal marking tool. I am going to draw one canal here. That's all. Okay. Again, I am going to full thickness, that is 20 mm. You can able to see the drawn canal here. Okay, now I am moving the cross section to the 3, 7 region. Okay, now I am going to maximize this. You can able to clearly visible the canal I have drawn. Just arbitrarily I did. We have to do it properly. Okay, now this is buccal cortical plate, lingual cortical plate, this is crestal alveolar bone, this is the canal. I am going to do the implant planning or implant measurement. Okay, I'm going to select this measurement tool. From the buccal cortical plate to the lingual cortical plate, almost 8 mm is there. Okay, from the crestal alveolar bone to the inferior alveolar canal, almost 16 mm is there. Okay, usually we should take just 2 mm above to the inferior alveolar canal. Okay, from I am measuring from here to here, around 14 mm is there. Okay, this is about basic measurement about how to measure for implant planning from the buccal cortical plate to the lingual cortical plate. Okay, your measurement will be comes like this. After that, you can delete using the delete tool. Okay, so you have to do like this only. These are the, I'm going to tell you the important options alone, because time will not allow you to delve in detail about software explanation. Orthogonal slicing, you are going to see the 3 slices, axial, coronal and sagittal one. In curved slicing, you are going to see the OPG reconstruct slice, and you can able to see the cross sectional slice. Okay, If you want to alter the angulation of this cross section, there will be two dots here. You can able to rotate the dots like this. Okay, you can able to alter the cross section of the, okay, you can alter the long axis angulation. For example, tooth number 2-3 is like this. For root canal treatment, okay, I just tilt the cross sections like this. Okay, now I am going to maximize this. Okay, you can able to clearly visualize the root canal morphology of tooth number 2-3. Okay, for that you have to go to the crowd slicing. Okay, in the crowd slicing there is a upper one, there is a big yellow color, blue color tool will be there. The lower one, there is a small blue color tool will be there. You can able to rotate like this. Okay, then custom slicing and oblique slicing will be almost same like orthogonal slicing, only this is oblique slicing. Okay, in orthogonal slicing we can able to just move like this only, front to back and front to back. We cannot able to tilt the angulation, but here in oblique slicing we can able to tilt the angulation like this. Okay, two dots will be there. We can able to tilt the angulation, then we can able to move this front and back. Okay. Okay, so I'm not going to make you to confuse. This is about the basic concept of viewing software slices. Orthogonal and curved slicing will be more and more sufficient. There are a lot of options are that this is adjustment, this is MPR adjustment, that is how to increase the contrast and decrease the contrast. This is 3D adjustment. Okay, this is the 3D tool is here. I'm going to maximize the 3D image. Look at the 3D detail. We can go for transparent view, or I'm going to reduce this. You can able to analyze the transparent view here. Now we can able to make out the impacted tooth number 2-3 is here. There are a lot of 3D adjustments are there. Okay, this is dentin level and bone level. I am reducing this. Now also you can clearly able to visualize the inner structures present in beyond the cortical bone. Okay, there are a lot of 3D adjustment. You can able to this. You should know how to use the software. You can able to play the software with the software tools. That's all. Okay. This is about the software explanation. Orthogonal slicing, curved slicing. These are various tools you can use. You can able to draw the arch. You can able to draw the canal. You can virtually place the implant. Okay. You can go for apartment. There are many options are that you have to learn if you use the software. Once you'll be well versed in that one. Okay, now I am going to follow my PowerPoint. That is last point of PowerPoint. Okay, what are the various applications of CBCT in dentistry? Okay, so far I have discussed about many aspects about the basics of CBCT and somewhat the 10 minutes explanation about the software. That is, I know that is not will not be the sufficient one. Just introduction about software explanation. That's all. Okay. Applications. I'm just going to run the slides. I'm going to show you the most number of cases only. How the CBCT is helpful in day-to-day diagnostic use. Okay. CBCT in endodontics, it will be very good tool for endodontic diagnosis. You can assess the morphology of the tooth, periapical pathosis. You can assess the vertical root fracture, identification of the root resorption, and you can go for periapical surgery, that is pre-surgical assessment. It will be helpful. Okay, this is one case. This is the first case. The patient is having pain in tooth number 1-6 region, 1-6 and 1-7 region. This is the OPG. The without root canal treatment, they have placed the crown. We go for a CBCT in OPG view. That is, we could not able to identify anything in the cross-sectional view. Okay, in the cross-sectional view, next slice. This is the cross-sectional view of that particular tooth number 1-6 region. Can you able to notice the vertical fracture here? Okay, this is the reason for pain. It will not be able to identify any of the two-dimensional imaging modality. Okay, vertical fracture is the best by identified by the cone beam computed tomography. Again, this is the multiple morphological variations of the tooth. This is the case of radis endomolaris. You can able to assess the two different roots in the distal aspect after the obturation. This is the clear picture of the obturation after the obturation. Again, this is the case of radis endomolaris. This is the mesial root. This is the distal root. There is two separate canals are there. Finally, at the apex, there is a split in the root of the apex distal root. Okay. Okay, again there is a case after the obturation. There is a periapical lesion is there. In the different angulation view, we have missed one root. Okay, here without obturation, we didn't identify it previously. So look at the axial slice. There is a missed canal is here. Look at the cross-sectional slice. There is a missed canal is there with the acute dilaceration. This is the reason for this periapical abscess. After that, we have identified, restored. Look at the healing process in this lesional area. Okay, so these are some cases of internal resorption here. Look at the internal resorption here. Okay, most of the times we missed second canal in the premolar region. Okay, look at the periapical pathology. Look at the obturation in the 2D imaging method. There is a missed canal in the periapical region here. This is anterior mandibular region. We used to think that mandible anteriors are very simple one to do root canal treatment, but that is the more trickiest one. Most of the time it has two canals will be there. Look at the axial slices. Look at the two different canals. We have to identify the two canals. We have to observe it properly. Morphological variation of the mandibular incisor, most of the times it will be having two canals like this, or apically it splits like this. Okay, simply you cannot do the root canal treatment for this one. Okay, look at this case. How many canals in this tooth number 16? Look at the mesio-buccal canal. This is MB1, just lingual to the mesio-buccal. This is MB2. This is distobuccal canal. This is the palatal canal. In between the mesial canal and distal canal, there is another canal is there. This is called mid-buccal canal. Okay, mesio-buccal 1, mesio-buccal 2, palatal canal, distobuccal canal. This one is mid-buccal canal. Okay, this is mesio-buccal 1. This is MB2. In between there is a canal. This is called mid-buccal canal. Okay, so the level of tooth structure loss. What is the reason behind this periapical pathology? Okay, there is a lot of cases only. Okay, this is the case of internal resorption. We can able to identify the extent of the internal resorption. Only confined within the tooth structure, or it perforate the cementum. If it is enters into the adjacent alveolar bone, it is difficult to manage. Okay, look at the resorption pattern here. It extends to the alveolar bone. Okay, look at this 2D image here. 2D is normal. The patient is having continuous pain in that particular area. If you go for a CBCT, 2D is normal. Look at this mandibular incisor. There is a cervical caries from the lingual aspect extends to the pulpal region. Okay, it is not possible to identify from the two-dimensional imaging modality like IOPA. Look at the axial slice. There is a perforation in the cementum. It extends into the adjacent soft tissue. Okay, look at the vertical fracture level here. Look at the 2D image. It is very, very difficult to identify from the 2D image. Look at the vertical fracture here. Okay, again the picture of vertical fracture here. Restored tooth, obturated tooth. The patient is having severe pain. The reason behind the pain is we took a CBCT. 3 canals are obturated. Look at MB2 is left untreated. Okay, this is mesio-buccal 1. This is distobuccal. This is palatal canal. Mesio-buccal 2 is left untreated. Identified, then obturated. Okay, so these are all the usefulness of cone beam computed tomography in the field of endodontics. In the field of orthodontics, many advancements. You can go for 3-dimensional cephalograms like this. Okay, this is 3-dimensional cephalograms with the automatic cephalograph tracing software. You can able to get the 3-dimensional cephalograms like this. And in orthodontia, the main thing is impacted canines. Most of the time, impacted canine, it is whether it is buccally placed or palatally placed, and we can be able to retrieve the impacted tooth to the arch. For that, we have to identify the exact location of the impacted tooth. Like this is the mandibular canine is impacted, crown of the mandibular canine. Okay, look at the resorption of the adjacent tooth here. Okay, before going to go for root canal, orthodontic treatment, complete analysis is important. Okay, and for in orthodontia, we can go for most of the time we need to go for a temporary anchorage device, that is mini implants. For that, we have to select the area of the cortical bone, and we have to analyze the width of the cortical bone in that particular area. CBCT will be very much helpful for that. Okay, and airway analysis is very, very important in the orthodontia in the growing period. Okay, airway analysis tool is there in all the software. It will be highly accurate airway analysis we can do, and most of the time sleep apnea also it can be identified from the CBCT data. Look at the enlarged tonsil here. This is the normal airway. Okay, this is the upper airway, upper pharyngeal airway, lower pharyngeal airway. Here, look at the enlarged tonsil is here, constricted upper pharyngeal airway. Okay, most of the time this is the reason for sleep apnea. If the constricted upper airway, most of the time anterior open bite will be there, deep antagonal angle will be there. Okay, so predetermined airway analysis is possible from the CBCT data. Look at the colored CBCT software airway analysis. Then you can get the volume also. That normal volume is around 22 centimeter cube. That is airway volume. If it is less, you have to go for some airway appliances. Okay, and cleft palate assessment, extent of the cleft palate. Okay, what about the status of the tooth present just adjacent to the cleft, okay, whether it is partial cleft or complete cleft. Okay, we can able to, before going for graft and during the surgery, we can able to analyze the volume of the cleft. In perio, will we get a very good images. Just department wise I just put, I have put many pictures. This is the case of aggressive periodontitis with the percussion involvement. Look at the percussion involvement here. Okay, you can able to assess the bone loss levels. Okay, from the CEJ to the crestal alveolar bone. Okay, look at the percussion involvement. Look at the percussion involvement here. Again, in between the roots there is a percussion involvement. Look at the 3D imaging, there is a percussion involvement. Is a case of aggressive periodontitis. Okay, and most importantly, everybody will be interested in implant imaging only. I told how to measure the implant tool. I will tell you what is not possible from the 2D data. Okay, length is possible. That is length of edentulous site is possible from the OPG or IOPA. That means in between, for example, tooth number 16 is missing. The distance between 15 to 17, it is possible from the 2D data. Which one is not possible is buccolingual width. Otherwise, we can call it as depth. Okay, buccolingual width is not at all possible from the 2D imaging data. It is only possible from the 3-dimensional imaging modality like CBCT. Okay, width we have to measure. Then density of the bone. Okay, buccolingual width and mesiodistal width and density of the bone. Okay, before going to place the implant, you can assess the density of the bone. Okay, your primary stability will be mostly based on the density of the bone. Secondary stability will be based on the osteointegration. Okay, then height from the crestal alveolar bone to the any vital structures. Okay, before going for implant planning, you can measure the bone height and width to assess the quality of the bone, that is density of the bone, to determine the long axis of the alveolar bone. Okay, whether it is lingually tilted or labially tilted, to identify and localize the internal anatomy. Is there any cysts or tumors, or is there any pathology, or is there any osteoporotic bone cavity is there? Before going for blindly go for the implant, you should analyze everything to establish the boundaries of the jaws. Is there any underlying pathology is there? Okay, maxillary anterior region, I told you from the crestal region till the nasal floor. Okay, height is from the crestal alveolar bone till the nasal floor. This is buccolingual width. Maxillary posterior region from the crestal region till the floor of the maxillary sinus. In the mandibular anterior region from the crest to the bottom level. From the mandibular posterior region from the crestal alveolar bone to the mandibular canal. Okay. So how to analyze the bone density? If you are seeing the cross section properly, you can able to identify the bone density. Okay, they have classified the bone density into 4 patterns. One is D1, D2, D3 and D4. D1 is completely made up of cortical bone. Almost 90% is made up of cortical bone. D2 is thick outer cortical bone will be there and dense internal trabecular bone will be there. D3 is thick outer cortical bone and coarse inner trabecular bone. Okay, inner trabecular bone will be here and there. That is D3. D4 will be outer cortical bone also thin outer cortical bone. Trabecular bone density also porous. That is inner here and there. Okay, this is D1 and D2, D3 and D4. This is the cross section. First picture shows the cross section of D1 type of bone, almost made up of cortical bone. Second one is D2 type of bone. You can able to analyze the thick outer cortical bone and dense inner trabecular bone. Here this D3 thick outer cortical bone with fine trabecular bone. D4 is thin outer cortical bone with fine or coarse inner trabecular bone. Okay. And we can able to analyze the density of the bone by Hounsfield unit also. I can able to show you in the software. I'll show you the software. But is you will be getting one number, that is Hounsfield unit. If it is more than 1250, that is D1. If it is 850 to 1250, it is D2. If it is 350 to 850, it is D3. If it is less than 350, that is D4. Okay. Mostly anterior mandible will be D1, anterior maxilla and posterior mandible will be D2, posterior maxilla will be D3, posterior most maxilla region will be D4 region. Okay. Everything will be predetermined from the proper implant assessment from the CBCT data. Okay. In maxillary anterior region, we should be careful only during the nasopalatine canal. Okay. In between the central incisors, there will be nasopalatine canal. It contains the nasopalatine nerve, ascending branch of nasopalatine artery, and some fibrous connective tissue. If you impinge on that area, patient will be feeling the numbness. Okay. That is about nasopalatine canal in the maxillary anterior region. Okay. Maxillary posterior region, you should be careful from the crustal to the height of the sinus floor. Okay. If you go for a sinus lifting procedure, whether it is direct sinus lifting or indirect sinus lifting, you should analyze previously just by looking at the CBCT data. Okay. In mandibular anterior region, one thing we have to be very careful in mandibular anterior region. Okay. That morphology of the mandibular anterior region will be a little bit tricky. Okay. And the density will be have a very good dense bone. You should not boldly go ahead with the implant planning method. For example, this is the morphology of the mandibular anterior region. Your implant placement should not be like this, should not be like this one, and should not be like this one. First picture and second picture. If you going more towards the buccal side, there will be more chances of buccal cortical bone destruction or buccal cortical bone loss that leads to peri-implantitis. Okay, finally leads to implant failure. Second picture is more difficult. If you going like this, that from the buccal to the lingual side, if you perforate the lingual cortical bone, sometimes you will be end up in a complicated situation like this sublingual hematoma. Okay. In this area, there is lot of important blood vessels are there like this. Okay. This is the anatomical picture. Is the sublingual vascular anastomosis in this area. Okay. If you perforate this area, immediately there will be a huge hematoma will be there in the sublingual region. Whatever case, whatever it is, if it is happening anything in the sublingual area, that is the floor of the mouth, that will be very, very difficult to manage in the chair side itself. Immediately there will be floor of the mouth will be enlarged, tongue will be elevated, patient will feel the dysphagia, difficulty in swallowing, difficulty in breathing. Most of the time it will be end up in the complications. Okay, so we have to be very, very careful in analyzing the morphology of the alveolar ridge in the mandibular anterior region. Okay, this is the case, causes perforation. So look at the implant perforation here. This is the huge sublingual hematoma here. Okay. Okay, how to analyze from the CBCT data? Okay, this is the cross sections of the mandibular anterior region. If you can able to see a vascular channels, prominent vascular channels like this, you should avoid that area. Okay, if you can able to see the prominent vascular channels like this, you should avoid that area. This is the way to identify sublingual vascular channels in the mandibular anterior region. Okay. And second important point in the mandibular anterior region, that is anterior loop of the mental foramen. Usually mental foramen will be coming like this, okay, from the posterior region to the anterior region. Usually it exists in the mental foramen. Sometimes it go little bit anterior, it take one loop, it come back and exit in the mental foramen exit, okay, like this. This is the exit of the mental foramen. Usually it should come and exit like this. Now it take little anterior, take a loop, okay, now it exit like this. This is the anterior loop. We have to measure the anterior loop distance. If you are placing the implant in the premolar region, you should be very careful in the maxillary anterior loop. In the mandible posterior region, there is only one thing, that is mandibular inferior alveolar canal. We have to measure from the crustal region to the inferior alveolar canal. Okay, you should not impinge on the inferior alveolar canal. The patient will feel permanent numbness there. Sometimes the inferior mandibular canal will be bifid mandibular canals. Look at the bifid mandibular canal. Bifid mandibular canal is here. Okay, and for implant planning nowadays, the implant measurements are, that is very everybody knows about the implant measurement. Now we have moved on to the guided surgery part. Okay, that is guided surgery part, which is possible from the saved DICOM data. Okay, you are going to CBCT data is there, that is the saved DICOM data. Virtually you can place the implant, you can save the data, you can send it to the 3D printing lab. They will make a sleeves with the stents in that particular area where you place the virtual implants. Otherwise they will do, they can help you. Okay, in that area they will make you some hole and they will give it to you. Okay, that is called surgical guide. Okay, guided surgery is another, if any time permits some advanced CBCT class, I can teach in and about detail about the guided surgery part. Okay, minor oral surgery, I told you impacted tooth location, whether it is buccally placed or correctly placed. This is a Mesiou tense part. Okay, this is impacted canine, it is palatally placed here. Position of the mandibular third molar, relationship with the inferior alveolar canal. Okay, look at the clear cut picture here. Okay, so there are some pathological pictures here. This is the case of ameloblastoma. I just run the slides. Okay, okay, these are some pathological pictures. Again, this is a case of fibrous dysplasia. Look at the case of fibrous dysplasia, fusiform or uniform enlargement of the maxilla as well as mandible, fully made up of fibrous bone. Okay, this is multiple supernumerary wooden tomb structures are there. Okay, residual cyst with the palatal perforation. Okay, it will be very much helpful for TMJ also. TMJ soft tissue detail, it is not possible from the CBCT. You can able to analyze the bone deterioration or osteoarthritic changes or osteophytes or loose bodies or foreign bodies located in the joint space. It is very much helpful. Okay, so look at the condyle osteoarthritis, look at the fracture of the condyle here, that is the osteophytes. Look at some sharp structures here, this is called osteophytes. Okay, fractured condyle here. And sometimes many incidental findings will be identified from the CBCT data. Look at the deviated nasal septum here. Okay, deviated nasal septum is here. Okay, look at the inferior turbinate hyperplasia and mucosal thickening of the left maxillary sinus. Look at the ethmoidal sinusitis here. I just run the slides. There are a lot. What I want to tell you is there is n number of diagnostic possibility is there from the CBCT data. If you can able to analyze the CBCT data properly, you can able to diagnose many number of diseases. Okay, carotid artery calcification are also possible from the CBCT data. Okay, look at the radio opaque masses just anterior to the C3, possibility for carotid artery calcification. Okay, again these are also carotid artery calcification here. Look at the carotid artery calcification. Okay, these are all incidental finding. Look at the sinus, maxillary sinus, sinusal polyp is here. Foreign body is present in the maxillary sinus, inflammation of the foreign body, some osteoma are there. Okay, I just elongated styloid process is here. Okay, so I'll just come to the last slide. I have put many applications part. I could not able to explain in detail about due to the time limitations part. So what I want to tell you is simple. You should take on CBCT CD today or tomorrow or somewhere else. You just copy it and paste it in your desktop. You just play the axial slice, coronal slice, and sagittal slice and cross-sectional slice, and you can clarify with the CBCT centers or technicians. You can able to diagnose many diseases. Okay, so you will be the radiologist for your own disease, whether it is if you want to measure the root canal length, or if you want to assess the mesiobuccal second canal, or if you are going for implant planning or whatever it is, it will be highly possible. Okay, this slice, I repeated slice only, it is a dedicated imaging for maxillofacial region. It is a rapid scan time will be there, limited radiation dose will be there. Okay, finally to conclude, whatever it is, we have to view the radiographs under ideal conditions. Okay, okay, ideal proper lighting condition only we should view. We have to interpret only from good quality radiographs. If you go for additional views, we have to go for that. We need to go for a specialized imaging, we need to go for that. We need to develop the familiarity with the normal variation, that is very important, and we need to develop the familiarity with the artifacts. Okay, and we should use review and relate technique. Review and relate technique also should be used. Okay. Finally, my conclusion slide is a common slide of most of the persons will be use these slides. The thing what I want to tell you from this slide is everything you cannot expect from the computer or software. You should be well versed with your subject and diagnostic talent, whatever it is, whether it is IOPA or OPG or CBCT or CT or MRI, whatever it is. Okay, most of the times they are everything they are expecting from the software. Software will not going to tell the diagnosis. You just going to see the software. That's all. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to you all.